It's John Bowden from Rock History Music, and today we talk to Johnny Rabb of Collective Soul. And for the first time, not on this channel, he's been on the channel before, but interviewing with me is my son, who's a professional drummer. He's 21. He started drumming at 7. And he's the guy who picked Johnny Rabb. I said, who do you want to interview? Maybe I can get somebody for you. And he said, of course, Johnny Rabb. From the jazz clubs of Boston to some of the world's biggest rock stages, he's the kind of drummer that can make a stadium shake or a clinic crowd lean forward in awe. He's broken world records for speed, invented his own sticks and cymbals, and found a way to turn drumming technique into an art form you didn't know existed. And he happens to be the drummer for Collective Soul. Johnny Rabb was born in Fairfax, Virginia, but grew up in Carmichael, California. He began drumming at around 4. Rabb's also a Berklee graduate with a degree in music education and performance. He gained international recognition by becoming the first person ever to play over 1,000 single strokes in 60 seconds, specifically 1,071 strokes. He earned the title of world's fastest drummer, verified by Guinness and featured on VH1's Rock and Roll Record Breakers. He's authored many books on drums, and he's also famous for the freehand technique, a method adapted and inspired by Kenwood Denard. In 2012, Johnny Rabb joined Collective Soul. His first record, See What You Started by Continuing, and he's been on everything ever since. Here to Eternity is the brand new Collective Soul album. They also have a new documentary, Give Me a Word, The Collective Soul Story. It's available on DVD and video on demand. You've talked about this a lot in your interviews. Connections, just making connections and the hang.
Yeah.
And I heard the Red Lobster stories a lot. Tell me about like roughing it a little bit.
I'd say roughing it a lot a bit. And in all seriousness, like I had just spoken about this the other day. I spoke about it. Whereas drummers, when I moved to Nashville, and that was my key move. And true story, I had $800 to my name, which seemed like a lot. I was like, man, this is going to be fine for a while. And immediately, as soon as I went to Nashville, I was like, I'm going to start going to clubs and meeting drummers. Well, that $800 lasted about two to 3 weeks is how long it lasted. And so I had to go get a job. So I went down to the pawn shop. This is terrible, but I went down to the pawn shop. And this is the worst. I ended up not pawning, but selling at the time my Christmas gift stereo. You know what I mean? Like that my parents gave me when I was like 14, like the awesome like turntable, what do you got? Tape player, CD player, all the stuff that you're never supposed to get rid of that. I still wish I had it now. Pawned it for like $100 or sold it for $100. And I remember coming out of that pawn shop feeling so guilty that I sold the prized possession of the stereo that I learned all my music from. You know what I mean? And I looked across the street and I said, any of the places that say now hiring, the first now hiring that I see, I'm walking in. And I am not kidding. I looked across the street and the stupid Red Lobster said now hiring servers. And the funny part is I went in, did the application, and they're like, okay, great, let's start. And I go, what, like tomorrow? And they're like, no, like right now. And I'm like, oh, I was thinking, like, I totally wanted more time off. I'm like, I was thinking you meant like tomorrow. And they're like, you do want a job, don't you? So I had to bite the bullet. And I went in there, and the reason I stayed at Red Lobster was because if a tour came up, I was able to leave and not be fired. I literally could just go, I'm almost, on hold with them. And I try to do a good job.
They
where I
worked
could
with
come
you for
back.
that? They worked with you?
Totally. Totally. I was too afraid of finding an industry related job. What I mean is,
Why?
I was sitting back. I thought there's no way they happen. Like Drum Paradise, which is the cartage company Harry McCarthy owns it, we became great friends. I didn't have it in me to understand I should walk to Drum Paradise, drive to Drum Paradise, and go, "Hey, do you need?" I thought it was all buttoned up. My weird mind just wouldn't give myself the opportunity, if that makes sense. So in hindsight, that time I spent at Red Lobster, I kind of wish I would have looked around town to be like, what musical related job could get me closer to tours or to gigging. And I never did. I kind of just did the Red Lobster thing and gigged my butt off downtown and didn't make much money gigging on Broadway ever. It was more of a networking thing. But that's my one advice to anybody that moves to a town is like, is there a studio that from midnight to 3 a.m. they need it reset? They need cables wrapped. They need, you know what I'm saying? Like an assistant, even if it's not, go do your day job and then get into the other work that some you could get into that makes the contacts build up. But I'm telling you, that's hindsight. I did not do that. I Red Lobstered it. It was pretty lame.
How long were you doing that Red Lobster thing until you kind of had, I guess you could say, that kind of break or that tour where you could kind of venture out and then stay on that kind of,
Yeah.
momentum?
On and off for like 4 years.
Oh,
And it's
okay.
because,
Wow.
yeah. So when I moved to Nashville, it's not my friend's fault. I had a professional bass player. I grew up in California, and he said, "Man, as soon as you move to Nashville, you're going to start gigging within like 2 weeks." Well, he was right, but wrong. He was right in the sense of gigging, but not paid gigging. It was downtown, as I just said, Broadway. Now Nashville is like insanely. When I left in 2009 or 10, it was already getting busy. Now it's like totally different and crazy. I kept that job because it gave me the ability to go on the road. On and off with Tanya Tucker. I ended up staying at Red Lobster for probably too long, but it was so easy to go back and bartending there, believe it or not. What a weird bar. I mean, Red Lobster bar, not the best, but you get decent enough tips to cover rent. And I got my degree in performance and music education. And for some reason, I turned down the music education gig, meaning teaching, 2 gigs in Nashville, 2 jobs, like two, because they were full time.
Yeah.
And my dad wanted to kill me psychologically
Oh, you
because,
went to Berkeley. I mean, God.
yeah. But that's not, I mean, I appreciate that. There's hindsight there too. I would never change a thing, but there's things I can't change a thing, but there are things I would do differently. But I can't say I'm bummed out how it's worked out, you know, luckily. But everyone says that thing about, oh man, that must have happened overnight. It's like everything took a long time, like teaching, substitute teaching. And it's something like you got $50 a day, and like you go and the problem was I'd be out playing the bars till 3.
Yeah.
And that call would come in at 8 in the morning going, "We need a substitute teacher at bing, bing, bong, bong, whatever." And I would ignore that call every time. So quickly got taken off the list because I never said I'll do it. That was not cool. And then I remember a principal was like, "Hey, we like your curriculum. We like the books you've done. We like whatever. We'd love to have you teach at this Nashville public school, the music program." And I never forget, I was like 23, 4 or something like that. And I go, "Okay, love to take the job. If I get offered a tour,
Yeah.
can I like, take a break?" And I never forget the principal's all, you're getting offered a full-time, like, this is your new, we hope you're here for like 10, 20 years. I'm like, oh, well, I moved, and I never forget, it was like young, not naive, but just, I guess, like, didn't care enough. I went, "I'm so sorry." And I like stood up. I said, I moved to Nashville to like play drums. So, and he's like, "You're turning the job down." I'm like, "Yeah, sorry, buddy." And it was like totally the second, the final interview. So I just remember I had to bail from there. I couldn't do it.
I heard you talk about the freehand technique and the how that it became evolved. I saw you do that, and it's strange. When I was young, someone showed me the pretty shuffle, and I remember when I was a drummer going, "I'm never going to be able to do that. I'm not going to be able to do that." And then of course then the John Bonham Fool in the Rain shuffle. I'm going, I ain't going to be able to do that either. And
Oh
then,
man.
of course, it's Jeff Porcaro's death anniversary today. It's the 5th.
Oh,
And then
such a
Rosanna, and again, I went, but he did it when he was 8. So, what were your
yeah.
drummers? What were your drummers? Who were the big guys? I
I
know
got
the Van Halens, and I know you talk about the Neil Peart. How did he influence you?
In a major way, like the most major way. I was probably like 8, and this is a true story, camping. And at the time, I think I even have a little thing on my Instagram talking about the single speaker cassette portable little handle type of radio thing. And my friend Eric, it was we went camping all the time. I grew up in California. So we woke up like naturally at like sun was coming up. It's probably like 9 or something a.m. and he had Exit Stage Left in that tape deck and played. He goes, "Listen to this. Listen to this. Listen to this drum solo." And I remember going, "Oh man!" It was during YYZ, and I said, "That's so awesome." So how many people are in the band? He's like, 3. And I'm like, "Oh, I get it." So one of the dudes is playing the cowbell part. The other dude is playing. He's like, "No, this is one guy." And at age 8, I was like, "No way." So then that became the intro to Rush for me. And then I wore out that entire tape, like just Exit Stage Left. What I liked about it is there was no video as we have now. So your mind would do the imagination of what the concert was like because it's live, and you're like going, what is this like? And then the creepy, kind of the weird, creepy artwork and like owls and crap are hanging around, like a little, person looking around the corner. So you start being like, your mind starts to like imagine, which I totally love about music before there was, YouTube and even MTV, right? So that was my first thing. And then every record was purchased on vinyl, every interview, which were very, very rare on radio, were taped and listened to. And I'm like sitting there going, that's what Neil's voice sounds like. Oh my God. And like a record release, they would do like a record release of like, I don't know, Power Windows. And like, here's the first, I never forget, here's the single from Power Windows, or here's this, of Hold Your Fire. And I'm like, oh my God. Me and my friend would be like, that's different from the last record. Or he was a huge influence. I was about 1 foot away from him at a jazz club. He was watching Steve Smith. I was too. Steve invited me. And at the end of the concert, I remember going, man, that guy's jacket is like really fitted and like tailored. He's cool outfit. And he stood up and I'm like, oh my God, that's Neil. And my friend Mike goes, no, it isn't. I go, that is Neil. And I had heard rumors of like, he doesn't really like to hear, man, oh my God, you're my, biggest influence. And so I never met him. I just watched him and what do you call it? I couldn't do it because I was gonna go nuts. Even though I was an adult, I was gonna be like, oh my God, you've influenced me, like, and then Steve's like, John, did you meet Neil? I'm like, no, I couldn't. He's like, what do you mean you couldn't? And I'm like, and Steve's my favorite drummer, Steve Smith. So it's ironic that Steve's like, why didn't you say hi to him? I'm like, dude, I couldn't. I was too freaked out. And he's like, oh my God, I wish I would have introduced you. Never got to meet him. And my worst scenario came to fruition. And I hate the word fruition, came to a sad thing when he passed away. Yeah. He passed away and I never met him. So that I'm bummed about that.
Yeah.
I love him. Then you can imagine all the old, my drum teacher, Mike Lawson from Sacramento, introduced me to everyone from Tony Williams, the old buddy Rich, to the Greg Bissonette videos, to Steve Smith videos, to the Steve Gadd video, to Omar Hakim, you name it, to Terry Bozzio video, every one of those DCI old videos, every one of them. Rod Morgenstein. I'm leaving tons of people out. Steve Jordan. You get it. That whole, every single person you can think of, I would just sit and watch that stuff like constantly and listen to their music. Virgil Donati as a kid with Loose Change in Australia. Crazy.
And you met him. I heard the story where you were in Australia and you go Loose Change. And
yes. Yeah. In the parking lot, because now Virgil and I are like, we talk sometimes and you know what I mean? Like we know each other, thank God, through the weird drum clinic circles. And legitimately he's walking through a parking garage at Australian Drum Fest. And I go, hey man, ladies and gentlemen, Loose Change. And I try to do the accent. And he goes, who said that? And I go, oh, I did. And he goes, how do you know Loose Change? And I go, we had a foreign exchange high school from Chatsworth, Australia, come and stay at our house. And they brought bootlegs of Loose Change. And I could not believe the drumming. I was like, it was awesome. So yeah, Virgil, total. These guys are like at such a level. It's, I don't understand it.
Speaking of discovering people via, gigs or videos or anything kind of like that, right? I first discovered you through a craft music Roland TD20 video. And this was
I know exactly.
as you know, freaking forever ago. All right.
Yep.
But though, how did that whole thing go? Like, were you working with Roland, or was that you with working with a craft thing, or just I guess you with Roland in general? Like, what kind of went on there?
That's a great question. That's a funny thing. So this many years later, you've just given me proof, and this is a good thing. This is so great that you just asked that. You've given me proof and validation that that video is confusing. In fact, after I shot that video, and I love craft music, they're not going to care. I love Roland, but I remember that was outside of Chicago. I had to drive. I drove there, and I was a Roland. They call me a product specialist. Like I would understand the modules in and out, SPDSX, all the TD, 20 and up, a TD3, all those modules. So my job would be to do clinics and workshops and answer questions, and then like try to make the product look good, like with demos or whatever. And I learned a ton from everyone that was involved. Steve Fisher, Mike Snyder, Drew Armentrout, and what was the other? Come on, Dave. Oh, I don't know why I'm screwing up Dave's last name, but these guys are all amazing. Anyway, they taught me a whole bunch of stuff. And here's the deal. So can you go, you have a certain amount of work. Can you go do a video thing for craft music, for Guitar Center, right? So that video you're speaking of, I mean, no disrespect to anybody, but man, I was there from like 10 a.m. till like 7 or 8 p.m. filming. And I don't even mind saying it now because like I'm not affiliated professionally with Roland. I still love them, but that was the trick, buddy, was that it came off looking like I was an employee of craft music because they were making me say, wanting me to say, and the guy that produced it there with me, awesome. So there's nothing's negative. It's just I spent all day going, here's this drum set, here's this groove, and don't forget the craft music bundle that comes with headphones, a throne, and when I did that craft bundle thing, something in my insides went, this is not that good of an idea. And here was my point. And it actually, I wasn't griping, but I called Steve Fisher and said, hey man, I love that we're out here, but it looks like I'm an employee for craft music. He's like, what do you mean? I'm like tagging like as if they're the only place to get Roland. I said, we're going to have a problem if someone sees this video and goes, well, I need Johnny to come and do mine at Mars Music, Guitar Centers, right, Daddy's Junkie Music. They're going to go, well, you had him say, craft music bundle. I want him to say Steve and Louie's drum shop bundle. So I know you didn't ask that, but I love that video, but I was so burnt out by the end of it because it was almost like, let's take advantage of the time. I was burnt. It was like, okay, that was great. Let's do one more. Like almost I forgot how many drum sets I went through, but it's like, so I remember, buddy, calling Steve and going, we need to just do our own in-house Roland videos like we do. We can't be, I don't think it's a good look to be out going like, this is the drum shop you got to come to, because other retailers are going to get pissed because it looks like we're playing favorites. So I remember everything changed then. Everything. He literally was like, oh my God. And Steve's one of the most intelligent people I met. So don't make it seem like I'm saying he's like, wow. But when I explained my situation, he was very like, that makes so much sense. Let's make sure if we go do these, you're not like name dropping the store. Like, don't forget the 10% Johnny Rabb discount at, Plumbers Music.
41 years in radio, you'd be really good. I just retired in radio after. That's pretty good.
Oh, thank you. I'm not gonna lie to you. I wish so bad that you see those, and I know I got ADD really bad, but you see those like things like voiceover people wanted. I would love to do all that stuff. I don't.
Voice
Saturated, probably saturated, right? Really like everything else. But
yeah. Some guy came on and said, and again, 41 years in radio, only major market radio. He said, that's the worst AI voice I've ever heard because I don't come on camera. You too.
Oh my God.
I know.
And it's like you, and it was really you. Yeah.
It was really you.
I'm fascinated with the radio voice thing. I got to be careful here because it is a friend. I will say, like how you have a natural voice. I have a couple friends that I don't believe it's their real voice, and it kind of drives me nuts. They're like,
what, Roger Radio? You mean they're doing Rodney Roger Radio?
It was kind of like that. Like I'm going to imitate it a little bit. Like Now, when you say that you sat down and you were having a great time, I'm like, what are you doing? Like, I get it. I don't dig that at all. Like,
Yeah.
how could you illustrate such a
Yeah.
novel idea? I'm
Yeah.
like, what are you doing? Just
Yeah.
I have been, of course, for a pretty long time now, looking through your page on Instagram, seeing updates on the tour, and just seeing what you post in general. And I saw a
yeah,
pretty recent vid of you doing a warm-up routine on like some multi-surface pad with
yep,
two pedals, and you're doing that. Now, at
totally.
least at least for me, I'm pretty guilty before playing any show of any extent or how big or small said venue is. I'm pretty guilty of not warming up. I'm just
Right.
curious now. Of course, I assume you do now. Like, what kind of things do you do, or do you have a certain go-to 5 minute thing, or a certain kind of round of things, or yeah, like what's that look like for you before a show?
I wish I could tell you that it was planned. And there's times that I make an error of not warming up. This tour and last summer, I made it a point to warm up, at least play a little bit on the pad. Now, that pad thing, and I'm going to plug it, not in the sense of for sale, but what it is. Pretty cool. It's an Austin Auto Pad that's done by ProLogics, and then his little Thunder Kicks, which are like a reverse beater thing. So it's really
Yeah.
portable. And we kind of call it like the micro kit. But that's Jason over at ProLogics. And so Wayne, thank God I have a great friend and a drum tech in Wayne Shovelin. He sets it up, and I can kind of escape in either the back of the semi, or like today it's raining, so we're in an arena, which is really kind of cool that they transferred us inside. Normally they cancel shows, so I'm kind of glad we're still playing tonight. Um, but it's inside. So to answer your question, I've just got a little double bass thing and a lot of singles. Like I don't sit down ever and go, I'm gonna do this for a warm up. I just start noodling around and trying to do combinations between hand and feet. That pad named the Austin Auto Pad, doing rhythms with each hand and like trying to like do all the permutations against it and things like that. My right foot is pretty much where I'd like it to be in life, but my left foot, I've been just trying to get that thing to be like my right foot for the years, and very difficult. I still can't do what I want to do. Like if they're, oh, do single paradiddles with your feet, I'm like, cool. My right side is doing it. My left is struggling on the doubles. So I try to I'll sometimes use that Polynome app by Joe Crabtree, and we got these little bows. They're almost like little like claspy little open ear, buds, and I can hear the metronome and I can still hear the pad. So I'll put those on and do it. Some days it's terrible. Some days it's 5 minutes. Some days it's 2 or 3 hours. And even though it gets lonely out here and weird, I am grateful that I don't have guilt of, hey, the lawn needs to be mowed or the deck needs to be pressure washed or for real, right? So I can go out there and screw with it. But I try to learn some weird, like a weird new rudiment as well, like if I can per day, or some flam thing I've never tried, or like all those marching dudes are like blowing my mind with all their like hamburgers and whatever they call them. I mean, like it's like too many names for all the like hyper Swiss rudiment. You know what I mean? The hybrid rudiments. You know what I mean? So I try to mess with that too. So
Freehand technique. A lot of people ask me to ask you about that because that's just another one. That's why I mentioned
perfect.
the shuffles, because there's that thing where sometimes drummers will look at that. Any artist will look at that going, I'm never going to be able to do that. Well, break it down, slow it down, whatever you have to do.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that back then because you don't know what you don't know in the beginning. But with that, how did that come about with you? Because that I look at that and I'm going, that's impossible.
No, it's definitely not. And it's definitely something I don't use extremely often. I always like some people hate spinning sticks. I like to screw around with that. I don't try to do that all the time, but you know what I mean? So freehand thing was, there was an era where Kenwood Denard was somebody that he was all I was studying. I mean, like I know we just mentioned all the other amazing drummers. Kenwood had this do-it-yourself vibe of like, I just couldn't believe I couldn't believe it. He would play every part of the drums, the rims, the hi-hat post, the freaking, him with Jaco Pastorius, him with Maceo Parker, Life on Planet Groove. I mean, those records are iconic and meant so much to me, still do. and I would copy him. He even had his weird video. I say weird because it was so innovative that just advanced. Like he just pushed forward as much as you could. I mean, and I saw him utilize the rim on like, I don't want to say spastic, but it wasn't fully rhythmically controlled or anything. One-handed roll pivoting off the rim. And when I saw that, I went, what would happen if one could control that into sixteenths, sextuplets, triplets, any note grouping? And I spent the Red Lobster years in our little studio attic in our band rental house working on it, and developed it, even wrote down ways of the up and down strokes with arrows, and made it into a book before it even was able to, kind of become one. Um, Self-published it. And again, that was totally all in the Red Lobster days. But the idea was to really have an explanation for it. Like how you said, I don't know if I could do that. Yeah, you could. It just really does take a few minutes to, to work on it and to understand the motion of it. But it's gotten to a point where can do quite a bit with it. You know what I mean? That's pretty cool.
Ed Roland is to you?
No, he's a good friend, and he's like a brother, and I've been in this long enough now to where I'm used to being around him as a friend, and you know what I mean? So think of him that way. But as a musician, all these guys are top notch. Ed's songs affected me before I even ever knew I would meet the band. I mean, I was in Nashville listening to December and Shane Evans on his tom part, doom, 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 doom. So when I do that every night, it's Shane Evans in my mind. I'm trying to sound like that record. All the drummers in the past,
And you know them all, right? You know them all.
Yeah, we're all good friends. Everyone at Ryan Hoyle. I talk to Ryan whenever I can. I text, see how he's doing. They're all influential on those records. Each person did a amazing job, from Shane and then Ryan and then Cheney, and then I'm able to be in here. And the to be able to play their parts live again, it's like a respect thing I'm trying to do every night. Like I don't, and a lot of people were total assholes online, Cheney and Rabb must hate each other. And it's like, nope. We're like super tight friends, like very, very close, best buddies. And he's out here tour managing with us. I mean, he's doing a great job. He's a great drummer. So, but we're friends. And the internet can be harsh, and the internet can be weird. I never forget a guy came up at catering once, and something like, and I get it, that, I got hired in, and it was like, how's this going to work? This clinician guy playing. And it got to a point where the dude said, do you understand how many hit songs they have? And I went, no, dude, I have no idea. And he thought I was serious. He goes, really? And I'm like, of course I know how many hit songs they have. I think it's going to be fine. Like, let me do this. You know what I mean? Let me try. God, it was not, and it wasn't an easy transition at the beginning, because why would it be? They don't know me.
How did that work?
Will and I went to their birthday party. And the next day, they visited me in the Roland booth. And Jen had convinced me, which I thought was a bad idea, but it turned out to be a good one. I did a whole demo of all the TD 20 at the time, 25. And then I loaded in the song Run on a memory stick, little, thumb drive. And I played it. I did my Latin thing and some funk. And then they were there long enough, and only 10-minute demo. And then I said, you can also, and I didn't let the audience know that they were in the circle with headphones. I said, you can also load in your favorite song. And I queued up Run. I played a loop along with Run, and they were nodding. And I go, you can also real time stretch without affecting the pitch. And I sped it up real time, wrong way to run, and I made it up to about 130 BPM, and did a kit switch really quick, and just did a dance remix of Run. And they were laughing. And then from there, it quickly went to, do you want to come to my house in Atlanta and we'll jam? And that was at Ed's. And I'll never forget, me, Will, and Ed in Ed's studio played fragments of like 3 songs.
Yeah.
And that was it. And the next thing I know, I'm up talking to home going, I don't even know if they like my playing. I think they think I'm okay as a person, but I don't understand what's going on. Like, I wasn't upset. I was just like, I don't know. And they ended up leaving. And about, I don't know, like a week later, it was, hey man, we're doing a tour in April, doing the Dosage album. You want to do it? And then funny enough. Yes, I want to do it, and I did it. But I thought we never talked. I didn't know the protocol. So the ending of the story is I ended up doing the tour, and I thought once the tour is over, I thought they were looking for someone else or whatever. And then they had like 3 other gigs that no one really told me about management. And in management's defense, it's like they were used to probably not having to tell. It was almost like you're in the band. So I remember my wife was pregnant. We had a planned C-section, so we agreed. They didn't necessarily need to know till later in the tour because I didn't want them to say, "Oh, you're going to be a new dad. You don't need to be on the road." I was really worried they were going to use that as a,
Sure.
"Oh, we don't want to take you away from family." I already agreed with my wife to, you know, is this okay? Yes, I get it. And it was a lame feeling because it was like I wasn't trying to betray them. I was just trying to make sure they knew I was interested in the gig. And
That's only part one of our interview with Johnny Rabb. I want to thank my son, Chase Edwards Bowden, for joining us. Chase EB Drums is his Instagram. He likes posting drum covers, and he loves Johnny Rabb. Remember, subscribe to the channel, click the bell notification so you don't miss anything. Comment on our videos, like them, and share them on social media. I'm John Bowden. This is Rock History Music. Take care.